اچھا گڈ. آپ ایک اشارہ بس ٹھیک ہے گڈ. السلام علیکم اینڈ ویری گڈ آفٹرنون ٹو ون اینڈ آل. میں آپ تمام شرکا کا آج اسکول آف سائنس کی جانب سے آج قومی یوم سائنس کے لیے آپ سب کا استقبال کرتا ہوں. جیسے کہ آپ سب جانتے ہیں کہ ہر فروری 28 کو ہم آج کے دن کو قومی یوم سائنس کے طور پر مناتے ہیں. اور یہ دن سائنس کے پڑھنے، سائنس کے لکھنے اور سائنس کے شہدا کے لیے بہت ہی اہمیت کا حامل ہوتا ہے. آج ہی کے دن کو حکومت ہند نے اس موقع کو قومی یوم سائنس کے طور پر منانے کا طے کیا، اور اس کے بعد مسلسل طور پر ہم مختلف پروگرامز سے یہ بتانا چاہتے ہیں کہ سائنس کس طرح سے ہمارے ملک اور قوم اور ساری دنیا کی انسانیت کے لیے کارآمد ثابت ہوگی. تو ہر سال حسب روایات ایک عنوان دیا جاتا ہے. اس سال کا عنوان بھی جیسے انٹیگریٹڈ اپروچ ان سائنس اینڈ ٹیکنالوجی فار سسٹینیبل فیوچر، یعنی سائنس اور ٹیکنالوجی کے اشتراک سے ایک پائیدار ماضی کی طرف ایک قدم یا راہ عمل کہوں. تو اس کے تحت اسکول آف سائنس مانو نے آج ایک پروگرام کا انعقاد کیا، اور میں تمام مہمان، طلباء اور تمام شرکا کا تہ دل سے استقبال کرتا ہوں. اور حسب روایات ہم اس قومی یوم سائنس دن کی شروعات قرأت کلام پاک سے شروع کریں گے، اور اس کے لیے میں دعوت دیتا ہوں اسکول آف سائنس کے ریسرچ اسکالر فضل رسول کو، وہ آئیں اور قرأت کلام پاک پیش کریں.
السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. تبارك الذي جعل في السماء بروجا وجعل فيها سراجا وقمرا منيرا. وهو الذي جعل الليل والنهار خلفة لمن أراد أن يذكر أو أراد شكورا. وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا وَالَّذِينَ يَبِيتُونَ لِرَبِّهِمْ سُجَّدًا وَقِيَامًا والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما صدق اللہ العظیم۔ ترجمہ: بڑی بابرکت والا ہے وہ جس نے آسمان میں برج بنائے اور ان میں آفتاب کا نہایت روشن چراغ اور چمکتا ہوا چاند بھی بنایا، اور وہی تو ہے جس نے رات اور دن کو ایک دوسرے کے پیچھے آنے جانے والا بنایا۔ یہ باتیں اس شخص کے لیے جو غور کرنا چاہے، اور رحمان کے بندے تو وہ ہیں جو زمین پر آہستگی سے چلتے ہیں، اور جب جاہل لوگ ان سے جاہلانہ گفتگو کرتے ہیں تو سلام کہتے ہیں، اور وہ جو اپنے پروردگار کے آگے سجدے کر کے اور عزت و ادب سے کھڑے رہ کر راتیں بسر کرتے ہیں، اور وہ جو دعا مانگتے رہتے ہیں کہ اے پروردگار دوزخ کے عذاب کو ہم سے دور رکھیو کہ اس کا عذاب چمٹنے والا ہے، بے شک وہ ٹھہرنے اور رہنے کے لحاظ سے بدترین جگہ ہے۔ شکریہ۔
بہت بہت شکریہ جناب فضل رسول، یہ ریسرچ اسکالر اسکول آف سائنس کے تھے۔ تو ماشاءاللہ تلاوت کلام پاک کے بعد میں ڈاکٹر صلاح الدین ایسوسیٹ پروفیسر اسکول آف سائنس کی جانب سے آپ سب کا اس پروگرام میں خیر مقدم کرتا ہوں، اور پروگرام کو آگے بڑھانے کے لیے میں انسٹرکشنل میڈیا سینٹر کو دعوت دیتا ہوں کہ وہ اپنا ترانہ مانو کا پیش کریں۔
یہ جامعہ زبان اردو، یہ جامعہ زبان اردو، زبان اردو کا آشیاں ہے، زبان اردو کا آشیاں ہے، یہ جامعہ زبان اردو، یہ جامعہ زبان اردو۔ کلام سارے ہے درج روح میں، قلم سے اترا ہوا بدن ہے، یہ علم کا شہر گھر ہے میرا، میرا مدرسہ میرا وطن ہے،
تعلیم کا موسم ہے، تہذیب کی فصلیں ہیں، ہم روشنی کرتے ہیں، سورج کی نسلیں ہیں،
اردو کی اڑے خوشبو،
یہ جامعہ زبان اردو، یہ جامعہ زبان اردو، یہ جامعہ زبان اردو، یہ جامعہ زبان اردو۔
جو دانا گزرے تھے اس زمین سے، جو دانا گزرے تھے اس زمین سے، وہ علم کے بیج بو گئے ہیں، بڑے ہوئے جب پودے بڑھ کے ہمارے قد اونچے ہو گئے ہیں،
ہم چاند کی پیشانی جب چھو کے نکلتے ہیں، پائے ना तुम्हें पाओ और मार्ग पे चलते हैं।
उर्दू की उड़े खुशबू,
ये जामिया है ज़बान उर्दू, 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 ज़बान उर्दू का आशियाँ है, ये जामिया है ज़बान उर्दू।
ये जामिया है ज़बान उर्दू। अभी आप मानू के तराने से लुत्फ़ अंदोज़ हो रहे थे। यकीनन इन कुछ लम्हात में आपको इस तराने के ज़रिए हमारे कैंपस का छोटा-सा झलक देखने को मिला। वसीउल अर्ज़ कैंपस, खूबसूरत नज़ारे और इस खूबसूरत नग़्मे को मशहूर व मारूफ़ शायर गुलज़ार ने लिखा है। तो अब प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए बिना किसी ताख़ीर के मैं दावत देता हूँ प्रोफ़ेसर इश्तियाक अहमद साहब रजिस्ट्रार मानू को आएँ और अपना खुतबे इस्तक़बालिया पेश करें।
Thank you very much. Welcome you all for this program. Indeed, it's a great day today. The Maulana Azad National Urdu University School of Sciences celebrating National Science Day to commemorate the discovery of Raman effect by Sir C.V. Raman, for which he is known worldwide and for which he was awarded Nobel Prize. And this day is taken as or is used to celebrate as Festival of Science all over India. Nothing could be better than this, that on this occasion, the School of Science, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, decided to not only to celebrate but to have a sort of extended lecture, sort of seminar, webinar on a very important topic, integrated approach in science and technology for a sustainable future. I am very sure that this extended lecture and webinar will go a long way in helping our scholars, our students, our fraternity as far as the topic is concerned. And a good number of students studying in MANUU and in other places will be benefited out of this. On this occasion, on behalf of our friends, our colleagues, and our faculty members from the School of Science, I welcome you all to this program, and I'm looking forward that all the participants will really be benefited by attending this program. Wish you all the best and have a very successful program. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to welcome on behalf of the School of Science. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत प्रोफ़ेसर इश्तियाक अहमद साहब रजिस्ट्रार मानू। यकीनन ये आज का दिन हमारे तलबा में एक नई रूह फूकेगा और एक पायदार तरक्की की तरफ, सस्टेनेबल फ्यूचर की तरफ हमारे तलबा में तहकीकी तख्लीकी सलाहियतों को बढ़ावा देगा और एक बहुत ही अहम किरदार अदा करेगा कि हम एक मुकाम पर आएँ, साइंस को डिस्कस करें और साइंस से होने वाले फ़ायदे और नुकसानात को एकजा करें और एक पायदार मुस्तकबिल की जानिब अपना कदम बढ़ा सकें। और प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए मैं दावत देता हूँ हमारे आज के इस कौमी यूम साइंस के कन्वीनर, डीन स्कूल ऑफ साइंसेस प्रोफेसर सलमान अहमद खान साहब, वो आएँ और हम सबको अपने कलमात से नवाजें। प्रोफेसर सलमान अहमद खान साहब।
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon and welcome all. Today we are here to celebrate National Science Day. As we all as we all of us know, the National Science Day is celebrated in India on 28 February each year to mark the discovery of Raman effect by the Indian scientist Sir C.V. Raman on 28 February 1928. For his discovery, the Sir C.V. Raman was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics 1930. In 1986, on the recommendation of National Science Council of Technology and Communication, of India declared 28 February as National Science Day, and the first National Science Day was celebrated on February 28, 1987. The celebration include public speech, radio, TV, science movies, science exhibition, debate, quiz, lectures, science model, and many more activities based on theme and concept. The basic objective of observation of National Science Day is spread the message on the importance of science and its application among the people. National Science Day is celebrated as one of the main science festival in India every year with the purpose to widely spread a message about the significance of science applications and in the daily life of the people, to display all activities, effort, achievement in the field of science for welfare of the human being, to discuss all the issues and to discuss all the issues and implement the new technology for the development of science, to bring the scientific minded citizens in the country together, to encourage the people as well as popularize the science and technology. Every year, National Science Day with a specific theme. This year, the theme of National Science Day is Integrated Approach in Science and Technology for Sustainable Future. This implies that science should have positive impact on education and the learner should have more engaged in science and innovation for sustainable future. Every year, School of Science MANUU celebrate National Science Day on 28 February. To celebrate this year National Science Day, the School of Science has organized a lecture on topic Green Nanotechnology, a Sustainable Development by a very eminent scientist, Professor Shamim Ahmed. Professor Shamim Ahmed is online with us in today's program. It is my great privilege to introduce Professor Shamim Ahmed. Professor Shamim Ahmed presently working as advisor, Center of Excellence in Nanomedicine, Jamia Hamdard University. Professor Shamim Ahmed has earlier served Jamia Hamdard University, New Delhi as a Vice Chancellor from 2005 to 2008. Before that, he served the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, for more than 3.5 decades and complete the term of the Director, Center Electronic Engineering Research Institute, Pilani, in October 2005. He also served as visiting professor at UNIMAP, Malaysia, and visiting professor of electronic at JC Bose University of Science and Technology, Faridabad. He is a recipient of the KL Gold Medal from Allahabad University for standing first in MSc Technology examination and 19th RL Wadhwa Gold Medal of IETE for his contribution in the field of research and development of in electronics. Dr. Ahmed has published his R&D research result in international and national journal in the form of more than 80 research papers and has been granted more than 1,000 patent. Professor Ahmed has decades of the experience in research and development in semiconductor device, physics and technology, nano-herbal pharmaceuticals, drug gene delivery, smart and intelligence nanomaterial, 2D nanomaterial-based device and technology. He has received many fellowships from several prestigious organizations, including German Academic Exchange Program, Germany, Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, Germany, UNESCO, Paris, National Science Foundation, USA, etc. It is with this brief introduction, I request Professor Sameem Ahmed to enlighten our audience with your valuable talk on the topic Green Nanotechnology, a Sustainable Development. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, sir. Professor Amin.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. Please. Please, sir. Yes, please continue.
Yeah. Yeah, screen पर PowerPoint PowerPoint ले आओ ना screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
You alaikum salam.
According to the theme of today, as announced, we are going to discuss about the sustainability issue. The moment sustainability is raised, there are a number of concerns which are to be addressed to. And one of that is the green technology. In green technology, we try to take care of the expenditure of material in terms of atoms and molecules. You'll be surprised that I'm talking of, expenditure counting in terms of atoms and molecules. But within a short time, I'll show you that really we mean that. For this, the today's topic of discussion is green nanomaterial or green nanotechnology and sustainable developments. Before entering into the further discussions, let us understand what is nanoscience and technology. It's a very simple concept that any material having dimensions in the range of zero point 0.2 nanometer to 100 nanometer is called the branch of nanoscience, where these materials are investigated and engineered before being put to use. So this range of 0.2 to 100 nanometer is not very strict. It is just a tentative range which has been fixed. On one end, you see that zero point 0.2 nanometer is nothing but the atomic size. On the other hand, it is the other extreme is 100 nanometers. But you'll find that this is not sacrosanct. It may change depending upon the situation. Coming to the study of this nanoscience and technology, let me ask a few questions. That what are the kinds of morphologies or size and shape in nano technology which are used? This is, you can see here that it can be either in 1 dimension, 2 dimension, or 3 dimension, like nanosheets, nanowires, nanotubes, nanoparticles, and their numerous combinations. This nanosheet, nanowire, and nanoparticulate forms are fundamental forms, and you can combine them together to have a very complicated form, as you will see when we move ahead. Now, the moment we take a nanoparticulate material, we know that it is going to behave differently from its bulk counterpart. Naturally, to understand that, we have to look into the internal and external structures of this. Internal structure may be crystalline, having a well-defined band structure, and then it may be either polycrystalline, number of grains and separated by grade boundaries, or amorphous phase, where the phases are randomly distributed. Now, looking at the external surface of these materials, that is most important, and that is highly chemically reactive. The reason is that these nanostructures are such that the size is very small in the nano range, as I told you. Surface is relatively much larger than the conventional surface to volume ratio of bulk material. What happens in this case? The binding of the atoms at the surface, they are partly covered by those atoms inside the material. But the external part is fully covered with, unsaturated bonds. And this gives rise to very highly chemically reactive surface property to these nanostructured materials. And that is where it is going to play a very important role in science and technology in the times to come. The presence of these bonds, naturally, they will be available to have a conjugation with other species coming in these surroundings. And not only that, even these nanoparticles themselves, they will get attracted towards each other and try to form a, agglomeration or, a collective much bigger size. So we have to create a situation where this kind of agglomeration is not allowed to occur. For that, what we do is we try to put some material, extra material on the surface called stabilizers or surfactants, which try to, cover these unsaturated bonds and make the material more stable. And in that case, we don't stop it there. We can cover another material on top of that, having proper ligands where the material can be put to use for a specific purpose. Not only that, even the solubility. You'll wonder that if you take an gold nanoparticle or gold nanostructure, it can be made soluble in water. You'll be surprised. How does it happen? Actually, in the range of atomic dimension to nano scale, the surface property is most important. If we cover it with some species or submolecular structure which makes it soluble in water, that is hydrophilic, then gold doesn't make any difference. Gold is lying inside, and the surface is hydrophilic, and it mixes with water very efficiently. You can even inject gold nanoparticle, intravenous injection, and make it carry the loads of number of medicines and imaging properties for medical applications. So you could design the solubility of these nanostructured materials by modifying its surfaces. Now, it is not only the size. There is another property which is called quantum effect. When the size is so small, like something above atomic dimensions and below 100 nanometers, the quantum effect becomes predominant. Excitonic behavior is also reflected. That is, in terms of electron and hole, as a particle, and giving response to the optical frequencies. And another thing which is very important is that surface plasmon effect. What happens? Electrons available on the surface of these nanomaterials, they behave like a collective uh, uh, entity. And when light falls on it, then at different frequencies, the absorption takes place. And that gives rise to the color of the colloidal solution of these nanomaterials, which we prepare very often in the laboratory. And I'll show you some of those things. Now, when we prepare these materials, after all, it is something to be used. So it has to be is stored in a proper medium. It has to be, uh, you know, uh, handled properly so that it is not injurious to human health, and you have to make them available for different applications. So stabilization of nanomaterials is prepared in form of colloidal solutions, powders, are embedded in different matrices like nanocomposites formed of polymeric gels, porous materials, Kg molecules, and many, many more. So, depending upon our applications, we can store them and use them accordingly. Now, what are the materials involved in that? The answer is that it can be inorganic, organic, or polymeric, or even biopolymeric. Look at the extension of the whole thing, that is starting from inorganic, then it goes to organic, then polymeric, and biomolecular species. And then, since every nanoparticle is very highly reactive, and therefore it's very easy to make a hybrid. Now look at that. Inorganic, organic, polymeric, biopolymeric, all put together in different ratios. How many combinations you'll have to realize a hybrid material out of these compositions? So one thing we can conclude, which is very essential and very important, is that the physico-chemico-biological properties of these material species will be at our will to decide how we go about. And this is real intelligent material species which will be formed out of this, for which we are striving hard currently. Now, if somebody says that nanotechnology is very new and it has been discovered only recently in last 4 or 5 decades, well, that is not true. Nanotechnology has been in use for centuries, long back. And one of the examples is found in the development of steel. You see, steel, if you melt the steel and try to cool it, then you can see that crystallization starts taking place. You can see here in the diagram, then when it is liquid, there are certain nuclei where the crystallization starts and then it grows in size. Ultimately, the solid form is composed of grains and grain boundaries. Now, these grains are crystalline, but they are separated from other grains by a boundary, and that boundary is very important. If you control the interface at these boundaries, then you can modify the property of the alloy or steel, whatever you call it. Today, there are number of alloys are available where the grain structure and their boundaries can be modified, and accordingly their strength and all other properties, elastic properties, can be changed at will. So it's a good tool that we know since long. It has also been noted that in old churches, few centuries ago, they used to have stained glasses. They did not know what is nanotechnology. They did not know what is nanoscience, but they were using it. They were empirically doing it. And you'll see that these windows are very beautiful. Different colored glasses are used for, depicting a number of pictures and things like that for decoration. If you look into it, it is actually nothing but a solid solution of nanoparticles in glass. And this color which is coming out of it is nothing but, the surface plasmon resonance, as confirmed by the bottles here on the right hand side, which is showing that if you prepare a colloidal solution of silver, then in the beginning, when the nucleation starts, the color is light yellow. And as the size grows of the crystallite, the color starts changing, and at the end, you can see it is very dark. So you'll not be surprised if you want a colloidal solution of silver, stop it at certain moment, and you can have different colors as you wish. Similarly, it can be obtained from the colloidal solution of gold or any other material in similar form. Now, let us ask how these nanomaterials are prepared. You may be thinking that it is something very complicated and like that. No, it is not that complicated. If you look at the whole development, it is a very systematic development, either in top-down approach or in bottom-up. In top-down approach, a bulk material is crushed into smaller pieces, and finally it turns out to be in the form of nanoparticles after proper processing. This is called top-down approach of milling the material. And there are other methods. You can etch it, a large chunk of material you can etch and you can make it small. Or another way is to make laser beam fall on it. And very high intensity laser beams, when it falls on that, ablation takes place and the material is prepared in nano form. Another procedure for doing this is a sputtering machine, where two electrodes are used and it is excited by DC or RF, and the particles are produced in plasma state and then deposit on the substrate. Besides all these fancy methods, a simple electroplating solution. You take two electrodes, one of the material which you want to dissolve, the other of platinum, or some noble material. You can control the electrochemical process and get nanoparticles deposited on the electrode. Actually, while we were doing this electroplating for gold in our laboratory, many times we noted that there is a black coating on the deposition, and we used to throw away that. Unfortunately, at that time, we did not appreciate the structure and we did not know the structure, but it was actually nanoparticulate deposition of gold, which was black in color due to its size. Though we used to throw that sample, but that was still gold. We can start the preparation other way around also. That is, we take atomic and molecular, species, make them, grow in a solution and stop the growth by some means so that the size is in the range of 1 to 100 nanometer. This is called bottom-up approach. Now here I show you example of ball milling. Ball milling, the I don't know whether it is working or not. No. Ball milling, there are steel or hard material balls put in a barrel, and that barrel is actually rotated so that balls they collide, and the material which we want to prepare in nano form, we put it in there with a some kind of slurry. When we do it for something like 24 hours or 2 days or 3 days, like that, we notice that the material which was put there is broken into smaller and smaller pieces because of number of forces acting on them, and ultimately it turns out to be a nanoparticle in size. Here you can notice that it is a very statistical process. It's not very precise. If somebody says that you give me 10 nanometer size nanoparticle, I can't do it. What I can do is I can prepare these particles in the range of around 10 nanometers, but there will be 20 nanometer size also and 5 nanometer size also. So we have to sieve, we have to separate them and try to give it to people, those who want to use them. I'll show another interesting method of green synthesis. Instead of going to ball mill and hitting the material with energetic balls, we can take either plant leaf, bark, or root, or dried leaves of plants, certain plants which are known, which are very well studied, and put it in water, or take extract and add the silver or gold salt to it as shown in the middle, and keep it stirring for something like 24 hours. You'll find that the nanoparticles are formed. Actually, if you take every day's uh, you know tea which we use and throw away after taking the tea, and the leaves are thrown away, you take those leaves and put it in water and put gold solution into it, you can get gold nanoparticles synthesized very easily. Why? The question is why. Answer is very simple, that tea leaves have certain antioxidants, and they reduce the gold salt and convert it into gold nanoparticle over a continuous stirring and shaking the solution at certain temperature, not very much, very high, and you can characterize them, and you can put to use those gold nanoparticles. So even simple, there are a number of herbal species which have been used, and they can convert metallic, metal oxide, and number of other nanoparticulate structures in a very simple way. Now, I have mentioned this specifically. There are a number of other exotic methods by which these nanoparticles are prepared, but I have taken this simple example. It indicates towards sustainability, because the raw material which you are using is available in the nature, which is renewed every now and then, and that is inexhaustible resource. And if you depend upon that, then the depletion of you know costly metals and all other resources involved there in may be saved to a great extent. Here I am showing you a SEM picture of a nanoparticle. I have been talking about something like imaginary thing, that it is very small, you cannot see with naked eye and things like that. But to give you a feel for that, मैं यहाँ पर आपको एक नैनो पार्टिकल का SEM पिक्चर दिखा रहा हूँ, एक SEM माइक्रोग्राफ दिखा रहा हूँ. ये गोल सी शक्ल जो आपको दिख रही है, ये नैनो पार्टिकल है, और इसमें कई साइज के हैं, कुछ छोटे हैं, कुछ बड़े हैं. So it's a reality and we can manipulate them. यही नहीं, इससे भी कॉम्प्लेक्स स्ट्रक्चर बनाए गए हैं. कोर एंड शेल, बीच में आप देख रहे हैं एक नैनो पार्टिकल है, उसके चारों तरफ दूसरा कोर कवर किया हुआ है, जिसको तोड़ दिया गया है कि जिससे आप उसको अच्छी तरह से देख सकें. ये कोर और शेल का जो स्ट्रक्चर होता है, इसमें कोर में इसकी प्रॉपर्टी हम कुछ और ले सकते हैं और शेल की प्रॉपर्टी कुछ और ले सकते हैं. And we can have a number of combinations for numerous applications depending upon your requirement. This is a very powerful technology for preparing intelligent materials using electronic and optoelectronic properties together. सिलिकॉन वेफर आपने देखा होगा, कुछ लोगों ने जिनको देखने का मौका मिला होगा. एक सिलिकॉन वेफर होता है जिस पर हम सिलिकॉन डिवाइसेस फैब्रिकेट करते हैं और इंटीग्रेटेड सर्किट्स बनाते हैं या कंप्यूटर चिप्स बनाते हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें बनाते हैं. उस मटेरियल को लेकर के کچھ لوگوں نے نینو راڈس بنائی ہیں، نینو وائرس بنائی ہیں. یہ جو آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں پتلے پتلے راڈس، اس کے سائز ہیں نینو میٹرز میں اور لمبائی اس کی ہنڈریڈس آف مائکرانس میں ہے. اب اس کی جو سائز نینو میٹر میں ہے اس کی وجہ سے اس کی پراپرٹی سلیکن، بلک سلیکن سے کہیں ڈیفرنٹ ہوتی ہے، اور اس کو ہم بہت سارے اپلیکیشنز میں استعمال کر سکتے ہیں. ابھی تک ہم نے آپ کو صرف پارٹیکل اور نینو راڈ دکھایا. اب میں آپ کو دکھا رہا ہوں لیملر مٹیریل. ٹائٹینیم کاربائڈ کو جب یہ گرو کیا جاتا ہے تو ایک مٹیریل کی شیپ میں آتا ہے جس میں کہ شیٹس ہوتی ہیں، 2 ڈائمینشنل شیٹس ہوتی ہیں. اگر ہم ان لیمینیشنز کو الگ کر لیں تو ان کی پراپرٹی بہت ہی ڈیفرنٹ ہو جاتی ہے. اس کو ہم کیا کہتے ہیں؟ 2 ڈائمینشنل نینو شیٹ مٹیریلز. اس کے اوپر آج کے زمانے میں بہت کام چل رہا ہے اور کوشش یہ کی جا رہی ہے کہ اس کے ذریعے ہم جتنی کمیاں نینو پارٹیکل کی تھیں ان کو بھی ہم اوورکم کر کے اور اس کے ذریعے اور بہتر طریقے سے نینو میٹیریل کا استعمال ڈیولپ کر سکیں. آپ کے ذہن میں سوال آ رہا ہوگا کہ اگر سلیکن کا اتنا استعمال ہوا ہے تو یہ 2 ڈائمینشنل نینو میٹیریل میں سلیکن کا اتنا ذکر کیوں نہیں آتا ہے؟ وجہ یہ کہ سلیکن کا جو نیچرل وہ ہے کرسٹل ہے وہ ڈائمنڈ لیٹس کا ہوتا ہے جس کو ہم شیٹ میں نہیں بنا سکتے. لیکن اگر کیلشیم سیلیسائڈ لیا جائے اور اس کو ایک ایچنٹ میں ڈالا جائے تو جو بیچ کی لیئر کیلشیم کی ہے وہ ڈیزالو ہو جائے گی اور کیلشیم شیٹ فارم میں اویلیبل ہو جاتا ہے. اب اس کی خوبی دیکھیے کہ اس شیٹ کو ہم بہت سارے اپلیکیشنز میں استعمال کر سکتے ہیں. اس کے اوپر اور اس کے نیچے الیکٹرانز ہیں اویلیبل جو کہ کنڈکشن کے لیے استعمال کر سکتے ہیں، جس کی ویلاسٹی بہت زیادہ ہوتی ہے، ڈرفٹ ویلاسٹی. اور اس کے اوپر ایجز پر اور لمبائی میں اور یہ وڈتھ میں دونوں میں ہم ایجز پر بہت سارے مٹیریل جو کہ ڈائگنوسٹک پرپس کے لیے اور میڈیکل پرپس کے لیے ہم لوڈ کر سکتے ہیں اور اس پوری شیٹ کو انجیکٹ کر کے ہیومن باڈی میں ہم بہت ساری ڈیفیکلٹ ڈیزیزز کو ٹریٹ کر سکتے ہیں اور یہ میجر کر سکتے ہیں کہ ٹریٹمنٹ سکسیسفل ہوا کہ نہیں، جس کو ہم کہتے ہیں تھیرانوسٹکس. ابھی تک تو ہم نے بات کی گولڈ، سلور، بہت سارے پریشس میٹیریلز اور میٹلز کی، لیکن دس پور کاربن is always neglected in the beginning and finally it turns out to be very powerful, equally powerful rather than any other exotic material. ہم موم بتی جلاتے ہیں، اس سے جو سوٹ نکلتا ہے اس سوٹ میں نینو اسٹرکچرڈ کاربن پارٹیکلز ملتے ہیں. یہ تو چھوٹا ایکسپیریمنٹ ہے جس میں کہ ہم ایک یا تو لیمپ جلا دیں یا کینڈل جلا دیں اور اس سے سوٹ لے لیں. اس کو سائنٹیفکلی کرنے کے لیے ایک گروپ نے ایک ویکیوم سسٹم لیا اور اس میں 2 الیکٹروڈ لگا کر کے اور کیٹلسٹ کی مدد سے الیکٹرک ڈسچارج کیا. اس کی شکل دیکھ کر کے یہ مت سمجھیے کہ بہت بڑا کمپلیکیٹڈ اکوپمنٹ ہے. یہ ایگزیکٹلی وہی ہے جیسے کہ ہم ویلڈنگ میں، آرک ویلڈنگ میں استعمال کرتے ہیں. صرف اس کا ایک ایسا ورژن بنا دیا گیا ہے جس میں کہ ہم بہت ساری چیزیں، بہت سارے پیرامیٹرز کنٹرول کر سکتے ہیں. اس ڈسچارج میں اتنے سارے مٹیریلز کاربن کے نینو فارم میں ڈیولپ ہوتے ہیں کہ اٹ از اے ٹریجر اینڈ وی کین یوز دیم فار نمبر آف اپلیکیشنز. اور ان کو ہم کیا کہتے ہیں؟ کاربن ڈاٹس یا کاربن کوانٹم ڈاٹس ڈیپینڈنگ اپان دی سائز. اور اس کے بہت سارے وہ ہیں میتھڈس ہے جس کو ہم نے یہاں پر مینشن کیا ہے. آپ چاہیں تو میں اس کو پڑھ سکتا ہوں. لیزر ابلیشن آف کاربن ٹارگیٹس, لیزر irradiation آف نینو کاربن particles, electrochemical shocking of carbon nanotubes, electrochemical exfoliation of graphite shoot from candles and natural gas burners, carbonization of molecular precursors, and acid dehydration of carbohydrates, and heating of alkaline and acidic glucose solution. گلوکوز سولوشن کو بھی آپ لے کر کے اگر اس کو ہیٹ کریں تو اس سے کاربن ڈاٹس بنتے ہیں. کاربوہائیڈریٹس ان فاسفیٹ سولوشن کو اگر مائکروویو اوون میں رکھ دیا جائے تو اس سے بھی کاربن ڈاٹس بن سکتے ہیں. میں نے ان کا ذکر اس لیے کیا کہ کاربن ڈاٹ جو کہ بہت ویلیبل مٹیریل ہے, ابھی ہم دیکھیں گے, اس کو ہم بہت آسانی سے اور بلک میں پروڈیوس کر سکتے ہیں اور اس کا استعمال کر سکتے ہیں, بجائے اس کے کہ ہم کسی ایکساٹک آرگینک مٹیریلز کی طرف توجہ دیں. آپ نے پچھلے فگر میں دیکھا کہ ایک چیمبر ہے جس میں کہ 2 الیکٹروڈ لگے ہوئے ہیں اور وہاں پر آرک پیدا کیا گیا. اب ہم اگر اس انوائرمنٹ میں آرگن ڈال دیں اور کوئنچ کریں تو ہم کو کاربن کاربن کی بانڈنگ مل سکتی ہے. آرگن کی جگہ پر اگر نائٹروجن ڈال دیں اور کوئنچ کریں تو ہم کو کاربن کاربن اور کاربن نائٹروجن کی بانڈنگ فارم ہوتی ہوئی دکھتی ہے. کوئنچنگ کو اگر ہائیڈروجن کے میڈیم میں کیا جائے تو پھر کاربن کاربن کی بانڈنگ ہوتی ہے, اور اس سے جو میٹیریلز بنتے ہیں اس کو ہم نے یہاں دکھایا ہے. جو پریکرسر بنتے ہیں وہ اس کو اگر ہم فردر گروتھ کریں تو ہم کو کاربن ڈاٹس مل سکتے ہیں, ہم کو کاربن نینو ہارنز مل سکتے ہیں, یا گریفین کی شیٹس مل سکتی ہیں جو کہ اگلومریٹ ہو کر کے رائٹ ہینڈ سائڈ میں دکھایا گیا ہے. اسفیریکل کاربن نینو ڈاٹس اینڈ کاربن نینو ہارنز اینڈ فیو لیئر گریفین شیٹ. تو آپ دیکھ سکتے ہیں کہ ان چھوٹی چھوٹی اسکیمز میں آپ بہت ہی یوزفل مٹیریل کاربن کا ڈیفرنٹ نینو فارم میں تیار کر سکتے ہیں. ہم نے کہا کہ بہت یوزفل مٹیریل ہے, اس کا مطلب کہ اس کو ہم کئی جگہوں پر استعمال کر سکتے ہیں. مثلا بایو سینسنگ, اس کے اوپر ہم ایسے مٹیریلز کوٹ کر دیں جو کہ اسپیسیفکلی کسی دوسرے مٹیریل کی پریزنس کو پہچان سکیں اور اٹیچ کر سکیں, تو ہمیں اسپیسیفک بایو سینسر بنا سکتے ہیں, اور بہت سارے بنائے گئے ہیں. یہی نہیں, کاربن ڈاٹ کی آپٹو الیکٹرانک پراپرٹی ایسی ہے کہ جس سے ہم بیکٹیریل امیجنگ کر سکتے ہیں اور ٹارگیٹنگ کر سکتے ہیں. جین ڈیلیوری کر سکتے ہیں اس کی مدد سے, جین کو اٹیچ کر کے, اور ریڈیو تھراپی میں استعمال کر سکتے ہیں, فوٹو تھراپی میں استعمال کر سکتے ہیں, ڈرگ ڈیلیوری میں استعمال کر سکتے ہیں, اور سیلولر امیجنگ میں کر سکتے ہیں. سوچئے سمپل سا کاربن ڈاٹ اور اس کے کتنے استعمال کیے گئے ہیں, اس کے اوپر پبلیکیشنز کی لسٹ اتنی لمبی ہے کہ تھوڑے میں بتانا بہت مشکل ہے. نینو پارٹیکل کے سلسلے میں اگر ٹارگیٹڈ ڈرگ اور جین ڈیلیوری کا نام نہ لیا جائے تو اس کا ڈسکرپشن کبھی کمپلیٹ نہیں ہوتا ہے, کیونکہ ایک زمانے میں اس کو یہ سوچا جاتا تھا कि nanoparticle will be the ideal carrier for taking drug to the desired site for treating specific disease like cancer. Now, this has been done and this has been proven, but the human physiology is very complex, and therefore, this attempt needed a lot of refinements. And ultimately, it turned out to be that RNA, DNA, if they are involved in these processes, then we will be able to control it better. मैंने एक एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पर लिया है कि अगर हम चाहें तो siRNA को TPFE के साथ कंबाइन करके और इसको इंजेक्ट कर दें वेन्स में, तो हम इस ड्रग को लंग्स में टारगेटेड डिलीवरी के लिए तैयार कर सकते हैं. These experiments have been carried out and they have been confirmed that the material is delivered in right amount to the lungs if we use appropriate components and proper bonding. And you can see here, right hand corner, when it is restricted, that carbon dot is restricted, then the loaded, drug there gets released. Or otherwise, what you can do is you can irradiate with some radiation and make the drug detached from the carrier. So there are a number of schemes developed and patents have been taken and people are using them and products are being finalized. Now let me summarize our observations, though I have done it in a very brief, but I gave you some flavor of the nanomaterials and its behavior under different circumstances. It can be safely said at this stage that any and every material is possible to prepare in nanoscale form, irrespective of its origin. As I told you, inorganic, organic, polymeric, biopolymeric. These species, they are making the whole ecosystem in the present form. Now, if you can prepare each and every material in nanoform, what are the opportunities arising out of that? Enormous, unlimited. But are we going to use all of them? No. They have to be chosen for a specific purpose, and then they have to be refined and they have to be optimized. So, usability is very, very important, and then comes sustainability. The nanomaterial species which you are preparing, which you are designing, which you are making, that should be usable. And not only that, raw materials used there must be available in a sustainable form. And the two questions which you have to answer in this context are that these nanomaterial species are non-toxic in nature. That is first and foremost important condition to be met, that these nanomaterial species must be non-toxic. Now, to get a non-toxic, material species, immediately it comes to our mind that we should go to green chemistry, where atom economy means every atom is accounted for its behavior and properties. That kind of sophistication has to be involved, and then we can make them useful. We may learn science, we may characterize, we may measure, but ultimately it will not be put to use until unless these conditions are met. Now, if you look at the whole plethora of materials available, species available, combinations available, hybrids available, nano composites available. कहाँ गया वो? Sorry. Nano composites available, and compare their behavior, biomaterials are found better than synthetic materials of inorganic and organic nature. So the conclusion, general conclusion is that whatever nanomaterial we prepare for industrial applications or for any applications, they should not be toxic to the human health or to the um, organisms, living organisms, and it will be better if they are derived from bioresources. In this context, we conducted some experiment in last few years ourselves. And I would like to apprise you about those experiences. I joined Jamia Hamdard as in the introduction, your dean has already mentioned that I joined Jamia Hamdard and stayed there for 3 years. My background was for 4.5 decades, 4 decades, about 4 decades in the area of electronics development, nanoelectronics, microelectronics, and things like that. When I came to Jamia Hamdard, it was a completely new area, life sciences. I had nothing to do with life sciences in my earlier career. So I started a very, concerned approach that how to put my experience to use in Jamia Hamdard. So I asked a couple of our senior professors who were involved in developing, treatments for different diseases using normal molecular medicines as well as Unani medicine. So my effort was sincerely to fuse the two. That is, can we use Unani medicine like molecular medicine and get benefit out of it by converting those herbs into nano form? It was a very simple question. So we started working on that. And the first material which you took, that is, first herb we took was turmeric. We converted into nano turmeric and tested that sample by injecting into animal models, FDA approved animal models, and see the influence on different diseases created there. In case of liver cirrhosis, the injection of this nano turmeric completely cured the liver cirrhosis after slaughtering the animal. It was difficult to distinguish the liver shape in the fresh non-infected animal and the infected animal. It was utter surprise for us. We could never imagine that it will be so strong and so potent in treating such hazardous diseases for which hardly there is any known molecular medicine available. Well, we are encouraged by that. And in the process, what we did, again, as a material science, student, we started converting number of these herbs into nanoforms, like, artemisinin, black pepper, and this triphala, harad, baheda, amla, and kalonji. All of them were converted into nanoform, and we tested them in vitro and in vivo and found that the doses required for treating those diseased animals were extremely low, like microgram per kilogram body weight. You'll be surprised. In Unani medicines, we give huge amount of medicines, for treating different diseases. But when we converted the same species, herbal species, into nano form, it became extremely effective. And not only that, we found that these nanoparticulate herbal species, they could cross the blood-brain barrier and several other physiological barriers in human body easily and go to those locations which are difficult to reach using molecular medicines like brain. When this nanocurcumin was injected into, ischemic brain where the brain cells are dead, we found that they got regenerated. We went up to histopathology and all the detailed experimental investigations, and we confirmed that we could revert back the brain damage, which is difficult to do normally by using this simple turmeric nano form. Similarly, in case of Kalazar, the size of the spleen is influenced, increased. And the only treatment available today is some cadmium salt, which is very toxic and very painful to take, but still people are using that because there is no relief otherwise. When we treated leishmaniasis infected rats, we could see that the reduction in spleen size was even more than that observed in case of cadmium salt. So we sincerely hope that if some formulation is prepared, this will be very effective against these diseases. You'll be surprised to know that this kalonji, which we use generally in preserving pickles and things like that, has content which is 10,000 times more potent than ampicillin as antibiotic. So habbe sauda, the oil extracted from habbe sauda, you can imagine the beneficial effects of that if you convert into nanoparticle size material species. So this was the first place where, to our knowledge, where these herbs were converted into nanoform and their pharmaceutical efficacies were estimated using standard protocols approved by FDA. And we do hope that a time will come when these herbs will be combined with diagnostic species of nanomaterial, and then we can say that, look, this turmeric is going to the spleen, or it is going to liver, or it is going to lungs, or it is going to any other organ of the body, and say that it has downloaded the therapeutic component and effect is positive. So this was a very interesting experience which we initiated at Jamia Hamdard, and the work is still going on. And I have not given the latest results from there, but if sometime you are interested, I can share with you. After I completed my term in Jamia Hamdard, I went abroad and came back and joined CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, as Chief Advisor Nanotechnology. Well, CII is a business organization run by industries, supports from industries. So they said that, let us take some project in Gujarat, which has some larger impact in terms of, health has taking care of health hazards and, you know, uh, clean environment and green processes and things like that. So we chose that why not we develop dyes from natural resources in nano form. And the laboratory of Nirmal University was used for this purpose, pharmacy laboratory. And we took again a very simple example of turmeric. We said we take up turmeric and use it for coloring cotton samples. We kept them aside as a standard. Then we converted turmeric into nano turmeric or nano curcumin. Curcumin is the phytochemical available there in turmeric, and we dyed again the cotton sample with that nano preparation. To our surprise, we found that the color, imparted by nanocurcumin was 1,000 times more bright than the color which curcumin itself imparted in natural form. So you can imagine the efficacy of using this color. The main problem of using these natural colors has been their fading effect, that they don't stand number of washes, they fade, and they get uh, decolored decolorized, and the textile is not usable after 10 to 15 washes. This question was actually addressed, and we tried to convert these dyes into nanoform and insert inside the fibers, because these are nanoforms, very small, therefore they penetrated very well inside the fibers, and the fastness of the color became much better than the crude method of dyeing the same fiber in bulk turmeric powder solution. So this was the approach confirmed by spectroscopic method, and it encouraged us to look at it in a more enhanced way. We proposed to go at the cellular level and produce pigments, natural pigments at cell level, and use them instead of going to the plants and you know getting crushed and prepared and things like that. But the program was somehow not supported further, and the study was stopped at that level. After that, I became again free to have some other assignment. So I started looking into the emerging areas. And during that period, there was great interest emerging in the area of information technology, that is IoT, you know, connectivity of each and every object through internet. And this was emerging very fast because of its industrial applications. Everything is interfaced to network, wireless network, and then to the internet, and it you can address to that object whether it is animate or inanimate. So this technology was very attractive. A lot of things were going on, and smart organizations, smart systems, and smart enterprises started coming up. But if you look at the internal structure, how it works, it's like this: that if you want to convert any object into internet connected object, you have to put a sensor there. And that sensor should convey the health of that object in electronic form and send that information through wireless network to the internet network, and then get it processed and actions are taken accordingly. This is the basic fundamental of a smart system. You can use it numerous areas. So the question is, you have to put for every object some sensor. If you take normal rough estimate of a sensor today, like temperature, pressure, and something like that, it is in the range of $10 to $20 each. Now, if you want to convert a system into IoT-based system, the number of sensors which you need will go into trillions of them. Now, if you take average $5, not 10, 20, average $5 a sensor, the cost involved is huge. And there is no supply available today which can meet such rising demands. So the question is naturally how to reduce the cost of these sensors. If you look at the fabrication of these materials and these sensors, there is a substrate involved where the sensing material is deposited and then electronics is added to that and that signal is processed and taken out. It is as simple as that. But the cost of sensor is mainly in its substrate. Sometimes substrates cost 85% of the cost than the active component of the sensor. So we thought that why not we hit at this point and try to reduce the cost of substrate. This thinking has been going on in the scientific community and people have been working on that. So we at JCB YMCA University, we decided that why not we take ordinary paper sheet and prepare a sensor there and use it. And don't use the normal photolithographic process for printing the patterns and things like that, which is again costly and expensive. We chose a very simple technique of modifying inkjet printer, converted nanoparticles into ink, and put it there in the cartridge and print the pattern directly on paper. The first sample is shown here, right hand side corner, is a humidity sensor prepared on surface coated paper, which is nothing but silica and alumina nanoparticle coated surface of ordinary paper for printing purposes. And we printed these interdigitated electrode structures there and use it for sensing humidity. It turned out that we can measure the entire range of relative humidity from 10 to 95% with high accuracy on this simple few paisa costing substrate. Now again, this uses cellulosic paper and nano coating on top of that. So again, raw material is sustainable. It is not going to exhaust so easily. And we can take even plastics, we can take textiles, we can take fabrics, we can take woolen cloths, leather, anything, and print these sensors on them suitably and make them connected to the internet network in an effective manner so that you can monitor the condition and take necessary action to make the system not only smart but intelligent, using artificial intelligence into it. So, this shows that if you look at the basic problems and understand the behavior of atoms and molecules involved in appropriate manner at nanostructure level, then we can modify or engineer the physico-chemico-biological properties of material suitably at our will and use them for a number of applications, out of which I have taken only one, hinted something about healthcare, but there are a number of applications, industrial applications, where these things can be put to use effectively in a cost-effective manner, and this will make the human life more livable, more comfortable, and for a longer period as we anticipate. Now, this part of science and technology is really meant for improving the quality of life. This is most important aspect. If we fire a nuclear reactor, that may be sign of prestige, that may be sign of advanced country. But if you look at the darker side of that, it is havoc. Whereas, if you depend upon nature and the materials available in nature in plenty, convert them into useful form by converting them into nano material and its hybrids so that it is compatible, then you can not only make the human beings disease free, healthy, rather more robust, more effective, more productive, and enjoying life in a better manner. So, this role of nanotechnology can be put to correct path provided we understand the basic mechanism involved there and its interactions with material. There is still number of gray areas, number of questions to be answered for which people are trying hard. But there is a really hope that if we use natural materials as we did in case of Jamia Hamdard study, or if you use low cost materials as we did in JC Bose University, we can really find solutions at affordable cost and still boasting that we understand the nature of material better than what we were doing earlier. So I will suggest few areas to the students, those who are attending this lecture, and I would like to draw their attention towards these possibilities. And if some of them do it, they will be really contributing very, very effectively to the well-being of the human population. What I'm suggesting is that, let me give you a little background, that there are something like 20 diseases recognized by WHO. They are especially, there in underdeveloped and less developed countries and economies. And for that, there is no organization working for R&D to make the treatment available to low economy people. These diseases are very, deadly and very discomfortable, like, leprosy, leishmaniasis, number of them. There are 20 in the list. And very recently, it has been found out that if we take the metal components in nano form and prepare some remedies using that, it will be better, it will be possibly better to treat them effectively. So my suggestion would be that again, before going to the metal components, why not we try the phytosomal formulations, that is phytochemical formulations derived from these herbs, combine them with theranostics, modern theranostic techniques, and prepare alternative treatments to these diseases for which no rich country is providing any solution right at this moment because of certain economic reasons. And the reason is that these poor countries cannot afford to make the payment for the costly research and development, and therefore they are not interested in developing any remedy for these diseases. Whereas WHO, Bill Gates, and many other organizations, they are pouring in money to develop cost-effective treatments for these diseases, which are otherwise very painful and life-threatening in these underdeveloped countries. So, with this suggestion, I would like to conclude my talk. I think I have not crossed the time limit. I hope. So let me thank the organizers to invite me to address to this August gathering of students, staff, faculty, and other people, those who are there. And I will submit to you that we should not forget that we can be useful to society. Let it be any area where you are working. If you had this thinking in the core of your heart that you want to do something good for people, you can always do that. And with this humble submission, I would like to thank the organizers to get the audience to listen to these observations and take the benefit of developing something good for society. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया प्रोफेसर शमीम अहमद साहब। आई एम श्योर, मैं कवी उम्मीद के साथ ये कह सकता हूँ कि ये लेक्चर और ये टॉक न सिर्फ असातिज़ा बल्कि तलबा के लिए काफ़ी सूदमंद होगा, फ़ायदेमंद होगा। और आपने जो मालूमात हमारे लिए फ़राहम की, जो आपका एक तवील तजुर्बा करीब 4 डेकेड्स अगर मैं कहूँ तो बेजाना होगा। और मुख्तलिफ़ शोबों में आपने आज सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के मौके पर बहुत ही बेहतरीन अंदाज में हमें इस बात से वाकिफ़ करवाया और यकीन दहानी की कि किस तरह से इस दौर में भी, इस कॉम्पिटिटिव दौर में भी, हम मसाबकत वाले दौर में नैनो टेक्नोलॉजी के इस्तेमाल से एक नहीं बल्कि कई शोबों में हमारी रोज़मर्रा ज़िंदगी से मुतल्लक़ मुख्तलिफ़ शोबे, ड्रग डिस्कवरी डेवलपमेंट हो या रीजनरेशन ऑफ ब्रेन सेल्स हो या कॉटन क्लॉथ प्रिंटिंग हो, डिज़ाइनिंग हो, और फिर वहाँ से लेकर के आपने सेंसर तक एक बड़ा सा सफ़र आपने क्लियर तौर पर हमें बताया। और हमारे तलबा से मैं ये गुजारिश करता हूँ कि इस मौके को गनीमत जानते हुए आप एक छोटा सा टाइम अपने सवालात, आपके दिल में यकीनन कई सवालात उभरते होंगे, तो मैं चाहता हूँ कि हमारे मेहमान से आप इस सवालात के बारे में कुछ पूछें और अपने चैट बॉक्स में लिखें बराए मेहरबानी, ताकि हम उन्हें बता सकें और वो आपके सवाल का जवाब दे सकें। Now the session is open for questions. I would like students, teachers, and other participants, if you have any sort of doubt, or if you need any further information, please take this opportunity and ask the questions. Now session is open for the questions. I would
Please.
appreciate if you could please type it in chat box so that we can see it and answer it. देखिए, वक्त की किल्लत की वजह से मैं चाहता हूं कि आप प्लीज़ रिएक्ट फास्ट। ये बहुत ही नादिर मौका है मानू मानू बरादरी के लिए कि एक ऐसे तवील तजुर्बेकार साइंसदान को हमारे आगे पाएं, और इन्होंने अपने एग्जाम्पल्स के साथ जिस तरह एक छोटी सी एग्जाम्पल नैनो कुरकुमीन का इस्तेमाल का लिवर सिरोसिस से लेकर ब्रेन डेड सेल्स के रीजनरेशन में इस्तेमाल हुआ। सर आप देख पा रहे हैं सर स्क्रीन?
जी
प्रोफेसर शमीम अहमद साहब, चैट
जी
बॉक्स में लड़कों ने कुछ सवालात किए। आई वुड अप्रिशिएट इफ यू कुड टेक क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम देयर, और आई
अच्छा
या खुसूसन दिस वन। Sir, C16 may also be considered as nanoparticle. सवाल
yes
है जनाब आरिफ साहब का।
C60. Yeah, C60 is a molecule, carbon molecule, where there are 60 carbon atoms bonded in a very regular manner, crystalline manner, and it is a marvelous material. Actually, discovery of C60 was much earlier than what it was supposed to be. So people could not use it to the best of its ability. Rather, it was underutilized. Now it is going to be used further because there are much simpler, materials, and the cost of C60 is rather high at this moment. One thing which I would like to comment, actually, I forgot to comment. With all this development for last 50 years in nanotechnology, is still today there is not a process to produce a nanoparticle of definite size in usable quantity of kilogram. No process. Whatever processes are available, they are only available in the form of fraction of a gram for small experimental purposes. And separation of a particular size of a nanoparticle from the whole lot is extremely expensive. Actually, the whole cost is only in separating them for a specific property. So I'll warn that this picture is not rosy very much. There is still to be done. Nanotechnology again is too early to say nanotechnology because if you don't have quintals of nanomaterial, well, technological applications will not be met. Therefore, we are only at the very early stage where we are trying to explore the future possibilities where we can increase the yield of material production and use them in the right manner.
थैंक यू सर। अगर कोई और सवालात हों तो बराए मेहरबानी ताख़ीर न कीजिए, वक्त की किल्लत है। आई वुड अप्रिशिएट someone from student take this opportunity to ask questions and get cleared your doubts. जैसे सर ने बताया कि इतनी तरक्की के बावजूद एक, मैं वो तो कहूँ कि और आगे जो हमें आगे बढ़ना है यहाँ से इंडस्ट्रियल स्केल पे इसका प्रोडक्शन और इसके मुख्तलिफ डोमाइंस में इसका इस्तेमाल, जैसे आपने सर ने बहुत ही खूबी के साथ खुसूसन मुल्क हमारे मुल्क के वतन अजीज़ हिंदुस्तान में जो अंडर डेवलपिंग कंट्री है ये, तो यहाँ पे जो वसाइल जो चैलेंजेस हैं उसके हल के लिए हम ज़रूर देखें, और खुसूसन उन बीमारियों के लिए एनी बायोटॉक्सिसिटी एसोसिएट। अच्छा, एक सवाल है प्रोफेसर परवीन जहान साहबा का कि कोई साइटोटॉक्सिसिटी एसोसिएटेड विद नैनो टेक्नोलॉजी?
Oh, plenty. Let me tell you, if you want to look at it, any and every nanoparticle, if not treated properly, will be toxic to or will be injurious to health. Reason is this small size enters to the human body from anywhere, inhale or ingestion or whatever way you touch anything, it may enter. So the barriers are no more there in the human body, which are provided by nature to protect the human body from other invasions. This is completely transparent to nanoparticles. Therefore, one should not be very happy that I am producing 5 kilos of nanoparticles. Suppose if there is a leak, what will happen? You cannot imagine, and you will not know, you will not see. It will be only the effect, final effect, which will be, visible after the effect is that produces mutations and things like that. Therefore, see, the light is there, but how to make use of it in full and proper manner, you have to harness it and you have to put it into right form so that it is not toxic. If you remember in my lecture, I mentioned that usability will be decided only and only after it is proved that toxicity is minimum or it is bearable. And there are agencies like FDA and many others in European Union. They control it very tightly that if you don't meet those targets, if you don't meet those stringent conditions, then you're not allowed to take, these you know, beauty products, these cosmetics. Now, if you use, suppose you are allured by very good property of, some material which can be put to use. Now, if it irritates the skin, if it goes inside, what will happen? Perhaps it will take 100 years to know. So you have to be very careful right from the very beginning. That's why I cautioned that if we use phytosomes instead of nanoparticles for preparing formulations, that at least you are safe.
थैंक यू सर आई एम श्योर ये डाउट क्लियर होगा एक केमिस्ट होने के नाते मैं एक आपसे एक छोटा सा सवाल करना चाह रहा हूँ मुल्क जैसे हमारे हिंदुस्तान में जहाँ रोकथाम या फिर क्वालिटी कंट्रोल या क्वांटिटी ये बहुत ही कम है खुसूसन पेंट इंडस्ट्री में नैनो पार्टिकल्स को बहुत ही आम तौर पे इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है और हम खुसूसन एक्वेटिक लाइफ और साइल पॉल्यूशन में बहुत ही करीब से हम देख पा रहे हैं कि इसका असर देख रहे हैं तो आप क्या समझते हैं कि इज देयर any means agency which is keeping eye on this nanoparticle which is going and mixing with soil and water?
There is agency, but as you know, our stringent controls are not effective. I will not shy to, accept that, because we see every day the kind of, adulterations and things like that without bothering for, human health problems. So I think if we want to make our lives better and if we want to make, really healthy, then all these checks and balances, they have to be strictly adhered to. As it is done in advanced countries, they are very particular about, like FDA. FDA, if you don't meet the animal trials, and primate trials, and then human trials, 3 stages of trials, if you don't meet for any preparations, they don't give permission to bring it into the market, however good your product is. So this is a must, and especially when we touch the human physiology at atomic level and molecular level, well, that's the end of it. Means if you touch a gene by an atom, now what will happen? Not only today, even tomorrow, day after tomorrow, what will happen? Nobody knows. There is no record. There's no study still made. So point is that if we really claim that we want to advance and make use of these advanced technologies, we have to be equally prepared to protect ourselves from all these adverse influences, especially through environment. I didn't touch the environment actually. Environment is another area where, since centuries, we have been actually getting nanoparticles accumulated and acclimatized. Look at the nature. Nature has acclimatized them. They are no more, cancerous. They are no more. They have become benign. So that kind of process we have to follow and we have to develop. And as a chemist, the role of chemist is very important because they shape the functional behavior. Now that functional behavior, if you control properly, well, that's where you can make use of it. Otherwise, cobra venom is one of the finest kind of protein.
थैंक यू सर, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। और मैं इसी के साथ स्कूल ऑफ साइंस और मानू बरादरी की जानिब से आपका तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं और ये उम्मीद रखता हूं कि ये जो सिलसिला है इंशाल्लाह स्कूल ऑफ साइंस की जानिब से ये राबता कायम रहेगा और आगे बढ़ेगा और आपके बसीरत भरे इस लेक्चर से और आगे भी हम आपसे फ़ायदा उठा सकें और कोई कोलैबोरेट कर सकें। तो मैं
इंशाल्लाह।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। अब हमारे पास हमारे शेख जामिया प्रोफेसर सैयद ऐनुल हसन साहब तशरीफ़ फरमा हैं। तो मैं सर, आप सुन पा रहे हैं हमारी आवाज़? जी सर, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Yes, yes. Walaikum assalam.
Good afternoon and respected audience, students and dear colleague, ये मेरे लिए बहुत ही खुशी का बायस है कि मैं हमारे शेख जामिया हरदिल अजीज़ वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर सैयद ऐनुल हसन साहब को आज कौमी ह्यूमन साइंस के मौके पर दावत देता हूं कि वो आए और अपने कलमात से हम सबको नवाजें। सर, ओवर टू यू, द माइक। Sir, could you please unmute your mic?
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry for joining late, but I was listening to the learned speaker, Professor Shamim Ahmed Saab, and enjoyed his lecture a lot. As you know, the integrated approach in science and technology for sustainable development is a wonderful topic given by our team. Nonetheless, I enjoyed and learned many things. As a matter of fact, science and technology both have developed, you see, over the last few decades to the best possible extent. I remember 20 years back when I bought a mobile set. It was a Reliance mobile set with the unlimited talk time. You see. And that time I paid around 20,000 to, maybe 20 years back, remember, you see, 14,000. So that time it was really not possible for everyone to afford. But somehow I spared this much. It was a very small set and I was carrying, enjoying, and there was only talking and talking and talking, nothing more, nothing less. And yes, many people were under the impression that, look, I have become more advanced. But practically speaking, I had no knowledge about it. Only I was a user. Now, my son is using iPhone 13. Recently, I bought from USA. Now everything is there. How it happened, in fact. Very true. Professor Shamim Ahmed. See, this technology, you see, reducing and reducing and reducing, you see. And now he's talking about the nanotechnology. I can imagine, you see, what will happen 10 years later when the world will see something, a small chip, then that too, you see, somewhere you will engrave and everything is finished. You can have n number of programs there. So this is how age is advancing. But yes, the question is, to what extent we are here to learn from technologies, from scientific knowledge. This has to be integrated. Here is a need, and as suggested by NEP also, National Education Policy, a holistic view. So you can't keep social sciences away from scientific developments. Human demand, that is also one thing. Of course, you see, supplies, the pattern of supply is based on human demands. When there is a demand, there is a supply. So this chain will never break. But how far we are able to cater to the needs of the entire society? There are people not even having 2G. How to communicate to them? He has very well talked about his communication linkages. Now, how to communicate to each other? This is a major issue. And I'm sure, you see, when you are spending more time on developing one set of technology, you see, then on the other side, you see, you will be able to develop another technology in order to meet the challenges and holistic view. So therefore, you see, I believe that it was well taught, well discussed, well replied, and enjoyable lecture. As I said, I learned so many things, but I am sure there are many other areas where definitely questions will come up. And similarly, answers will be given. I know when I was teaching in 2007, when I was teaching in Rutgers State University of New Jersey, I inquired about the Rutgers. What is Rutgers? There was tomato, there were potato, Rutgers tomato. I mean, what is Rutgers? So then I got to know that it was technology through which you see the whole lot of vegetable was developed. In fact, to a bigger form and to a more tasty form. But there was a story behind it. You see, there was scientists whose name were Rutger, and who somehow is the plus and minus. He explored that vegetable is also plus and minus. So he somehow, you see, he ate minus and he couldn't digest it, and he died. But he wrote a diary, you see, that by saying that, look, I mean, here are the difference between the plus and minus, you see. And then the overall researchers started, and his students and others, collaborated. That's how I am saying today this is the age of collaboration, you see. You have to collaborate. You have to put your heads together, and then only you can develop something viable for the entire humankind. I'm sure there are many more aspects Professor Shamim Ahmed would definitely highlight in his lecture series, because he has made us more thirsty. So we wish to hear so many things from him. But the period, you see, during which I was present, you see, I really enjoyed, and I know that he has conveyed a solid meaning to his researches, and there are many takers, and I'm sure in the days to follow, many other aspects will be highlighted and it will be taken into consideration. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू सर, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर। बेशक आपने एक बहुत बड़ी बात कही। मैं सबकी तवज्जो चाहता हूँ کہ ترقی کا مطلب کچھ ایک خوشحال طبقے کو ترقی کے ثمرات نہ پہنچانا، بلکہ سماج کے ان دبے ہوئے اور ان مجبور لوگوں تک بھی ٹیکنالوجی کے فوائدوں تک لے جانا اور ان کے فوائدوں کے لیے استعمال کرنا ہی سائنس ہے۔ اسی عزم کے ساتھ آج اسکول آف سائنس اور آج کا اس پروگرام اور اس میں شامل تمام طلباء یہاں سے ٹیک ہوم میسیج لے کے جائیں گے کہ سائنس ہمیں وہ خواب کی طرف لے جائے گی جو ہم گہری نیند میں نہیں بلکہ ہماری نیندیں اڑا دے گی۔ ہماری جستجو اور ہمارا یہ ٹارگٹ رہے گا کہ سائنس اور ٹیکنالوجی کو کس طرح سے خوشحال مستقبل کی طرف، ایک بہترین کلین اینڈ گرین ماحول کی طرف، کیونکہ ہم نے ترقی کے لیے جتنے کوششیں کی اس سے زیادہ ہمارے آج نقصانات ہم دیکھ پا رہے ہیں۔ ٹاکسک کیمیکلز اور ہمارے ماحول اور ہمارے قدرتی وسائل کا گھٹ جانا یہ سب سے بڑا چیلنج ہے۔ آئی ایم شیور ٹیکنالوجی اور سائنس کے استعمال سے ہم اس کو کم کرنے میں بہت ہی مددگار ہوگا اور ایسے راہ عمل تیار کریں گے جس سے ماحول کو کم سے کم یا بلکہ نہ کے طور پر اثرات ہوں گے اور ایک بہتر مستقبل ہمارے لیے ہوگا۔ اب پروگرام اختتام کی طرف جاتا ہے۔ اب اس پروگرام کا ایک اہم مرحلہ ہوتا ہے اظہار تشکر، اور اظہار تشکر کے لیے میں ہمارے ساتھی ڈاکٹر قاسم اللہ صاحب جو اسکول آف سائنس میں اسسٹنٹ پروفیسر ہیں کیمسٹری ڈپارٹمنٹ کے، انہیں دعوت دیتا ہوں کہ وہ آئیں اور اظہار تشکر پیش کریں۔
السلام علیکم۔ مہمان خصوصی جناب شیخ الجامعہ پروفیسر سید عین الحسن صاحب، مہمان اعزازی جناب رجسٹرار پروفیسر ایس کے اشتیاق صاحب، کی نوٹ اسپیکر جناب شمیم احمد صاحب، سابق شیخ الجامعہ جامعہ ہمدرد نئی دہلی۔ آج کے اس پروگرام کے کنوینر ڈین برائے اسکول آف سائنس پروفیسر سلمان احمد خان اور تمام سامعین، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ تمام کو قومی یوم سائنس نیشنل سائنس ڈے کے لیے بہت بہت دلی مبارکباد۔ میں جناب شیخ الجامعہ پروفیسر سید عین الحسن صاحب، جناب رجسٹرار پروفیسر ایس کے اشتیاق صاحب کا بہت مشکور و ممنون ہوں، جنہوں نے اپنی مصروفیت کے باوجود ہم تمام کو اپنا قیمتی وقت دیا اور اس پروگرام کو کامیاب کرنے میں حوصلہ افزائی کی۔ آج کے پروگرام کے کی نوٹ اسپیکر پروفیسر جناب شمیم احمد صاحب کا بھی میں اپنی جانب سے تمام اسکول آف سائنس کے اساتذہ، غیر تدریسی عملہ اور مانو برادری کی جانب سے بہت ممنون اور مشکور ہوں، جنہوں نے اس پروگرام میں شرکت کے لیے ہم لوگوں کو کا دعوت نامہ قبول کیا اور اپنے زرین خیالات سے نوازا۔ میں کنوینر اور ڈین برائے اسکول آف سائنس جناب پروفیسر سلمان احمد صاحب کا تہ دل سے شکر گزار ہوں، کیونکہ انہوں نے اس پروگرام کو منعقد کرنے اور اس کو کامیاب کرنے کے لیے وقتاً فوقتاً اسکول آف سائنس کے سبھی اساتذہ کے ساتھ میٹنگ کی اور ان کے مشوروں کے مطابق اس پروگرام کو اس مقام تک پہنچایا۔ میں اپنے اسکول آف سائنس کے سبھی ٹیچنگ اور نان ٹیچنگ ساتھیوں کا بھی شکر گزار ہوں، کیونکہ آپ لوگوں کی کوششوں کے بنا یہ پروگرام ممکن نہیں تھا اور آپ تمام نے بخوبی اس پروگرام میں بڑھ چڑھ کر حصہ لیا اور اس مقام تک پہنچایا۔ میں آئی ایم سی مانو کی پوری ٹیم کا بھی مشکور و ممنون ہوں، خاص کر ڈائریکٹر جناب رضوان صاحب کا، جنہوں نے اس پروگرام کو منعقد کرنے کے لیے پورے انتظام کی سرپرستی کی اور بخوبی ان کی پوری ٹیم نے اپنی ذمہ داری کو انجام دیا۔ بہت بہت شکریہ۔ جے ہند۔
بہت بہت شکریہ ڈاکٹر قاسم اللہ صاحب۔ بے شک ایک کامیاب پروگرام کا انعقاد کسی ایک یا دو شخص کی کام یا ان کی محنت نہیں ہوتی، بلکہ کئی لوگ جو یہاں موجود ہیں اور اس سے پیچھے بیک گراؤنڈ میں بھی اس کو کام کرتے ہیں۔ تو یہ پروگرام माशाल्लाह अब इख्तिताम को पहुंचा। प्रोग्राम का इख्तिताम हस्ब रिवायात हम अपने कौमी तराने से करेंगे। तो मैं कोई अनाउंस एक नहीं करो तो जी, तो कौमी तराने के साथ मैं इस प्रोग्राम का इख्तिताम करना चाहता हूँ। आईएमसी टीम से गुजारिश करता हूँ कि प्लीज़ कौमी तराना पेश किया जाए और सबसे गुजारिश करता हूँ कि अदबन अपनी जगह से ठहर जाएं ताकि कौमी तराने के एहतराम में प्लीज़।
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे